Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansu, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a hell of a show for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. You want today's full show streaming for free on the DREAMERSPRO podcast. We have pinned below. Let me get into this topic here. As you guys know, Shannon Sharpe is one of the three biggest names in sports media right now. You have Pat McAfee, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe. Those are the biggest three. And then you have others out there, but at least those are the guys I think at the top of the game. And ever since Shannon Sharpe left FS1 Undisputed, his career has gone into a totally different stratosphere. Like he's on a whole different level right now. So what happened? As you guys know, the Super Bowl just finished. Obviously, it was a thriller. The Kansas City Chiefs won in overtime. Hell of a game. But prior to that, various people in media were doing various press runs. And one of the people that was doing these press runs was Shannon Sharpe when he went on Sirius XM radio. Now, as it turns out, and I was unaware of this, he used to actually work on Sirius. And I didn't know this. So when he was there, it was about a 15-minute piece. And he was talking about a bunch of different things. Excuse me, even Kirk Franklin passed by and he saw him in the crowd. He greeted him. But then they got to the part where they asked Shannon Sharpe to basically give the distinction between what it's like working with Skip Bayless and what it's like working with Stephen A. Smith. And to my surprise, as he was speaking, he ended up giving Skip Bayless his props along the way. So for those of you who haven't heard that, I want to play it for you now, and then want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to that.
You know, Sean McManus and Tony Batiti giving me that opportunity for over a decade at CBS. And then Jamie Horowitz hiring me at FS1 and Skip believing in me and giving me the opportunity to be his partner for 6.5 years. I will forever be grateful for that opportunity. And then moving on to ESPN First Take and Stephen A. giving me that opportunity, the bosses over there. I remember when I was leaving FS1, because I really didn't know, Adam, what I was going to do as far as linear television-wise. I knew I was going to keep doing Club Shay Shay because I owned that property. And so I said, well, hey, at least I have this property. I'll do this once a week, and then, you know, we'll try to figure it out after that. But when Stephen A. reached out and said, big boy, I want you, he says, I don't do the hiring, but I have told my bosses, all of his bosses, Dave Roberts, Jimmy Pitaro, Burke Magnus, all the way up to Bob Iger. And when they reached out and said, look, we want this to work. What can we do? How do we make this work? Met with Dave Roberts in Atlanta, and the rest is, as they say, is history. Stephen A. has been unbelievable. Molly, all the guys have been so accepting of me. But I never forget the one thing that Stephen A. told me. He says, look, I want you to be you. Yeah. He says, I want you to be Unc. I want you to be you. I want you to be Club Shay Shay. I want that guy. And so, and I'm like, Stephen A., you know, you and I, we both have big personalities. He said, don't worry about me. You do you, and that's going to make the best show. And so I really appreciate he and Molly really accepting me. D.O., Dan Orlowski, Ryan Clark, those guys have been so good to me, and I really appreciate that.
People don't realize this, and I have my own amazing experiences with Stephen A., who's been so incredible to me in my career. He is the ultimate teammate, yes, the ultimate guy, and he wants you to be you. Yes. He is so confident, I mean this in a positive way, in himself. Yes. And if he believes in you and believes in the product and knows how to make great TV, he is as great a guy, in addition to talent, as you'll find in this business.
He really is. Look, events like this, I would bump into him, Super Bowls and things like that. I would see him from time to time in L.A. because he has a place in L.A., and I would bump into him. But I didn't have the type of relationship with him that I have with him now. And so it's been great to get an opportunity to see him up close and to see how he is, why he is, and how he is. And you get an appreciation for just how hard he worked, and see why he's earned everything that he has.
So you heard what he had to say. Now, here's what's interesting. I don't know if some of you are aware of this or not, but while Shannon was at Undisputed, are you guys aware that Skip Bayless was the one that gave Shannon Sharpe the idea to branch off and kind of do his own side podcast? Were you guys aware of this? because that was actually the truth. That's what Shannon Sharpe said. I believe he said that on All the Smoke. Why am I bringing up that point? The reason I'm bringing up that point is, given the fact of how things ended, Shannon has still found a way to keep his respect for Skip, because he still remembers what Skip did for him. If we're being honest, listen, there are a lot of talented people that don't get the opportunity, right? And just because someone gives you an opportunity, it doesn't mean that you're less talented. And I think some people kind of confuse that. Just because Skip gave Shannon Sharpe the opportunity doesn't take away from the innate talent that Shannon had. And Shannon never forgot that, right? He never forgot that. Some people will say, well, Skip said this, put your glasses back on and blah, 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 blah. So you don't need to be doing this and doing that. But Shannon's like, no. Most likely you guys aren't here talking to me if Skip didn't extend the olive branch, because at the time, from what I understood, Undisputed wanted a journalist to kind of debate Skip Bayless. And Skip Bayless was like, no, I want to get a former professional athlete. I want Shannon Sharpe. He's the guy. The reason they wanted a journalist, I believe, was because they kind of wanted to recreate what they had with him and Stephen A. Smith, and someone that could talk about all sports. So he took a gamble on Shannon in terms of Shannon Sharpe being able to talk about other things. Obviously, the NFL is a piece of cake. It's a walk in the park for Shannon Sharpe to talk about the NFL. So that's the first thing. He also described what it was like working with Stephen A. Smith. I think Stephen A. Smith, just from the outside looking in, I think is a bit more of a dynamic environment. There are a lot of moving parts. If you look at ESPN First Take right now, you'll see that they have an ensemble cast. They do a lot of different things throughout a show. They have, list your top 5 duos and all of that. It's a dynamic environment, right? Where I believe Shannon Sharpe has the autonomy, and he said it, to be himself, right? And I think Stephen A. Smith and the executives over at ESPN understood, listen, this guy is very charismatic. He's naturally funny. You can't be fun. You can't act funny. I'm not funny. I don't think I'm funny. Sometimes I say things that crack people up, but I don't see myself as a funny person. But Shannon has that, right? And you don't want to dumb that down because it's something that a lot of people like. So to me, I think it was classy for him to take the approach that he did, where he's like, listen, things didn't work out, but nevertheless, I do respect what Skip Bayless did for me. In terms of him joining ESPN, I thought that was a no-brainer. I mean, if you didn't go after Shannon Sharpe, I'm like, are you kidding? Who wouldn't want to go after this guy? And I said it, and I said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. I've said it multiple times, but I'm gonna say it again. I think it's already started. I think Shannon Sharpe's this part of his career he's going to experience more success than he's ever had previously, and that's saying a lot from a professional Hall of Fame football player. But right now, he's in a totally different stratosphere, and I thought that was an interesting conversation that was worth sharing with the audience. So what I want to know from you guys is the following: what do you think about the things that Shannon Sharpe had to say in terms of his relationship with him and Skip Bayless? And do you think that Shannon Sharpe ultimately will end up being the guy that gets his own show at ESPN if Stephen A. Smith ultimately moves on? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comments. We catch you guys on the next show. Peace.